Being Authentic with Patrick Farabaugh on the Mike 92.1 and the Mike921.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Being Authentic. I'm your host, Patrick Farabaugh. I'm also the publisher of Our Lives magazine. That's Madison's LGBT magazine. You can find it online at ourlivesmadison.com. And I want to thank our guest from the last segment, Jennifer Clout. She is a board member for Outreach, the LGBT Community Center here in Madison. And she, like our next guest, went online to ourlivesmadison.com and filled out a form that really is there for you, every listener listening to this. If you have something you want to talk about that fits the mission of this show, then by all means fill it out and get some time, using the radio to help promote what you're doing. So our next guest is Charlotte Easterling, and she's a yoga instructor that's doing something pretty cool that involves Costa Rica, if I'm correct. Welcome, am I right, Charlotte? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's a trip to Costa Rica for a week in the winter.
Yeah. Now, what? Help me set this up. How do you connect yoga in Costa Rica?
The connection is that there are a lot of teachers who take trips to places like Costa Rica, Mexico, Jamaica, and a lot of times it is during the winter, and it's an opportunity for people to get some time in nature, which is so incredibly important, especially in the middle of winter. And
sure,
you look outside and all you see is white, and you can't really get outside.
Oh, that's okay. Now, how did you come into starting a yoga practice and getting into yoga for yourself?
I started practicing about 10 years ago, and it was just sort of I started it as just a way to get some exercise, and took my first class, and it was obvious immediately that it was way more than just exercise. Like, this is an experience that I'm having here. And so I've been practicing pretty steadily ever since that first attempt at it. And so I started teaching for that same reason. It just it offers so much to people. It's a chance for them to connect with themselves and with other people who are taking the classes, with people who are teaching it, and there's such depth to it.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity for people.
Now, for people who maybe don't practice yoga or haven't tried yet, what would you tell them that if they have any kind of maybe hesitation or reservations about what their expectations are? That's a lot of words that end in ION.
I think the main advice I give to people if they're a little bit uncertain about trying it is that, well, I like to say when I'm teaching that as long as you're not hurting yourself and as long as you're breathing, you're doing yoga perfectly. So it's not like you have to already be flexible or already be strong or have the right pose or anything like that. It's just you need to be willing to show up and try something and be open to having a new experience and be curious. I think those are the biggest things.
Now, are there different levels for people who are new to it? Like, if I was new to it and I chose an advanced level, I may show up and really start second guessing that decision. Like, is there a process or a good way, if somebody's new, they should look for a certain type of class kind of to start out in?
Yeah, for a new student, I mean, really anybody can go into pretty much any class and get what they need out of it. But if you are brand new, like a fast-moving class can be pretty overwhelming. So I would recommend for somebody who's starting off, look for a class that's called something like a slow flow or a gentle flow. Those are really common styles that you can find in most studios. Okay. And a lot of places also offer beginner classes.
For the total yoga Luddite, what is slow flow and gentle flow?
Flow is a pretty standard style of yoga. You'll find that at just about any studio, and that just means that you're moving pretty constantly throughout class. One pose flows into the next one. So that's where that name comes from. So you'll see some that are called like power flow, and that's moving really fast. Gentle flow and slow flow are going to move a little bit more slowly, and you'll hold the poses longer and have a little bit more time to make those transitions.
Gotcha. And how do you work in hot yoga? What's the value and benefit? Who is that right for?
Hot yoga is, I personally love it. I take a lot of hot classes. There are, for some people, it's just they like getting into a hot room and sweating, and just they like that little extra bit of oomph they kind of get from it.
Sure.
I think I feel like it's a great place to work to. I don't know that for your first class it would be something that you'd want to do just because there's a lot. It's really hot. I mean, it's like 95 degrees in the room.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I think I love it because I'm always cold. So I like walking into a room where I can be comfortable and sweat a little bit. But for somebody who's kind of sensitive to the heat, and especially in the summer.
Now, somebody when they do take their first hot class, like what would be the best recommendation for clothing? Should they bring a towel? Should they bring a bottle of water?
Clothing, I would say don't wear anything that's really baggy. Like if you're wearing a really loose T-shirt or something, that thing is going to get soaked in sweat, and pretty soon it's going to weigh 100 pounds. So wear stuff that is going to wick moisture, and it doesn't have to be like short shorts and a tube top or anything like that. It can be something that you're going to feel adequately covered in, but just make sure that it's going to wick moisture away. And make sure you have water and drink lots of it, especially when you first start off. You're going to sweat like crazy. And you do need to replace that fluid that you lose. And, yeah, take a towel. It's always good to be able to wipe sweat off your face.
So let's dive into this trip. When is it happening? Mm-hmm. Kind of what's involved in it? What's the package look like?
It's at the end of January. It's the last week of January, so the 24th to the 31st. And the total cost for it it's $28.75 per person, and that includes airfare, that includes lodging. The only things that aren't included in that are lunches, some of the spa services, and some of the excursions. But some of the excursions are included. So my intention is to get the group together, and then we'll talk about what we want to do and figure out what the total package is going to look like.
Hey, where in Costa Rica?
The city or town really, is called Uvita, and it's a very small community, and it's coastal. And there's a landmark called the Whale Tail.
Okay.
And it's
that sounds like a yoga pose.
Yeah. And it's actually this feature on the beach that something about the way the tide comes in, it forms this shape of a whale tail out in the water. So the beach kind of extends out into this little double peninsula almost that goes out. And so the beach leads right out to that, and there's jungle all around. So it's a lot of places to hike. There are waterfalls. It's a really beautiful place, and not very developed. Yeah. So it's kind of raw.
And this isn't going to be like a Biggest Loser sort of situation where you go and you're just constantly being under the gun, having to exercise all day. Like what would it be like? Yoga in the morning, maybe in the afternoon or evening, but like what would a daily itinerary look like?
It would vary depending on whether we're doing activities or not. So there definitely would be at least one yoga practice a day, and that practice could be really energetic if that's what they're wanting, or if they want something a little bit more chilled out, we could do that. And then we could do another one in the evening, or if we have some sort of excursion going, the excursions can include things like hiking. They have paddle boats. I think they have kayaking, surf lessons. They have zip lines. So there are all sorts of things that we can do during the day, and then we can decide, do we want an evening meal to class, or are we ready to just hang out by the pool?
And comparatively, what's the average temperature in Costa Rica that time of year to Wisconsin?
Ooh, that is a good question. Well, I do know that it was the high on January 28th this year was 2, and I'm sure it's a lot warmer in Costa Rica. I would have to look that up. That's a good question.
I know it's more than 2.
Yeah. It's definitely swimsuit weather. I'm guessing I would assume it's probably like in the 80s at
Yeah.
that point.
Which truly, at that point of year, when all of our bodies have adjusted to almost zero temperatures, 80 is going to feel like a heat wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So,
and if people want to know more or connect with you, how do they go about doing that?
the best way to find out more about the trip is to go to my website, and that is charlotteeasterlingyoga.com. And there's a link up at the top of my site that says Costa Rica 2015.
Okay,
And
really quick,
so,
just to make sure people spell your name correctly. How do you spell Charlotte Easterling?
it's CharlotteEasterling.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte. I really appreciate
You're
you taking
welcome.
the time. This has been fun.
Well, good. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate having the chance to talk to you.
Okay, take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thank you.